Chapter 10. The Stage and the Spotlight. The registration table was a folding affair, the kind of thing you'd see at a PTA bake sale or a third-rate community fair. Behind it sat a young volunteer with a clipboard, her expression teetering between boredom and polite detachment. PJ and Cody approached, Cody's steps slow and deliberate, while PJ's pace was brisk, brimming with a sense of purpose that suggested he'd been planning this moment for weeks. Performing as a duo? The volunteer asked, not even glancing up from her clipboard. Her pen hovered over a checklist, ready to scribble something down. No, I'm his manager, PJ replied smoothly, his tone so convincing you'd think he was managing the next big thing, which in his mind he was. The volunteer nodded, handed them a slip of paper, and said with all the enthusiasm of a DMV clerk, "Number 37, good luck." Thanks, Cody muttered, taking the paper as though it were a lottery ticket, the kind that might win you $1 if the stars aligned. As they turned away, a slight swagger crept into his step, a flicker of the old Cody, the one who'd once been at the top of his game. It's going to be a night to remember, PJ said, clapping him on the shoulder. The touch was firm but reassuring, like a coach giving a pep talk to a star player before the big game. The municipal auditorium loomed ahead, its aging marquee flickering sporadically. Inside, the atmosphere was electric, a mishmash of small-town charm and big-city ambition. Bright stage lights swept across the audience, illuminating eager faces, locals, tourists, and a few stragglers, who'd likely wandered in out of curiosity or sheer boredom. The announcer's voice boomed over the speakers, full of manufactured cheer. Welcome, everyone, to our tribute night. Get ready for some rockin' performances as these contestants chase that $2,500 cash prize. The crowd erupted in applause, but it had the hollow ring of obligation. Cody and PJ slipped into seats at the back, far from the spotlight, their vantage point perfect for observing the unfolding chaos. What followed was less a tribute to Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley, and more a tragicomedy of errors. The first act was a middle-aged man in an Elvis wig, a monstrosity too big for his head and so shiny it looked like it had been dipped in Crisco. His jumpsuit clung to him in all the wrong places, glittering with the defiance of cheap Halloween fabric. He belted out Hound Dog with all the desperation of a man who'd practiced in his bathroom mirror and nowhere else. Every note was off-key, every movement awkward. The audience winced collectively, but out of pity, they clapped anyway. The way you might for a toddler who'd fallen flat on their face but stood up bravely. Next came a young woman so committed to her Johnny Cash tribute that she donned a fake mustache, the kind that came prepackaged with a cowboy hat at party stores. Halfway through Ring of Fire, the mustache began to peel, hanging precariously as her voice wavered dangerously close to a crash landing. A hiccup struck during the chorus, eliciting stifled laughter from the crowd. Oblivious, or perhaps indifferent, she soldiered on, her determination almost admirable. Then came the duo. Denim-clad and rhinestone-studded, they swaggered onto the stage with the confidence of rock stars. The moment they opened their mouths, it became clear they were anything but. Their rendition of blue suede shoes devolved into a comedy of errors. One tripped over his mic cord, the other missed every dance cue, and their guitars tangled like marionettes in a windstorm. By the end, the audience wasn't just laughing, they were howling. PJ chuckled openly, his shoulders shaking as each act somehow managed to be worse than the last. Cody, on the other hand, sat stiff, his jaw clenched tight enough to crack walnuts. This ain't no tribute to the king in cash, he muttered. This is a damn circus sideshow. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a small bottle, popped a couple of pills, and chased them with a quick swig from the flask hidden in his jacket. PJ caught the movement out of the corner of his eye, but said nothing, his expression unreadable. Just do your thing, PJ said quietly. Don't hold nothing back. The announcer's voice rang out, cutting through the din. And now, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for contestant number 37. Cody exhaled slowly, standing with the weight of a man about to step into the ring. He adjusted his manual coat, its rhinestones catching the light, and brushed his hands over the Gretsch guitar slung across his back. The weight of it was both a comfort and a challenge. As he stepped onto the stage, the lights dimmed. The crowd hushed, anticipation hanging thick in the air. A single spotlight pierced the darkness, bathing Cody in its glow. His pompadour gleamed under the beam, and his Roy Orbison sunglasses obscured his eyes, but not the quiet confidence etched into his face. He gripped the microphone, leaned in close, and let a faint smile play on his lips. "Good evening, folks," he drawled, his voice smooth as Tennessee whiskey. "Let's take it back to the good old days, shall we?" The first chord he struck was bold and unapologetic, a sharp E7 that cut through the silence like a shot fired in the dead of night. The crowd erupted in cheers, their earlier reservations forgotten. Cody had them now, and he wasn't letting go. He launched into a medley that was equal parts homage and revival. Folsom Prison Blues, Jailhouse Rock, I Walk the Line, Burning Love, and more. Each song was a crescendo of energy, building on the last, drawing the audience into a frenzy. When he sang I Walk the Line, the auditorium became a sea of swaying lights, phone screens glowing like fireflies in the dark. During Burning Love, someone threw a scarf onto the stage. Cody caught it mid-verse, draping it around his neck with a grin that sent the crowd into hysterics. By the time he reached Mystery Train Tiger Man, he was prowling the stage like a predator, growling into the mic as the lights flashed red and gold. The final chord hummed through the amplifiers, a lingering note that seemed to hold the audience's collective breath. Then came the eruption. Cheers, applause, screams. Phones shot into the air, capturing a moment that was already becoming legend. Breathless, Cody stepped back to the mic, his voice low and heartfelt. "Thank you. Thank you kindly." As he exited the stage, the applause followed, an unending roar that echoed in his ears long after the lights dimmed. Outside, the night was cool and alive with possibility. Cody and PJ stumbled down the steps of the auditorium, laughter spilling from their lips. Cody clutched a wad of cash, his face alight with triumph. "You did it, man!" PJ exclaimed, his grin as wide as the moon. "Told you it was your night!" Cody smiled. A real, unguarded smile, the kind he hadn't worn in years. "Feels like the old days." As they moved down the street, their laughter fading into the glow of the street lamps, the night held both their triumphs and their unspoken struggles in quiet tension.